All right. Hey there, everyone. And I got a couple videos to bust out today. So let's get crack-a-lackin'. And today, our replay is brought to you by FireP. And you can see he's actually going to be playing Jungle Diana. And he had a bunch of questions to, I think it's something along the lines of what could he have changed in his jungle pair and what did he do wrong? I think that this outcome of the game may have been a loss with the description that I read. But I've actually been getting quite a few emails from you guys, and it's great. I love it. It's really cool to see. I love seeing the submissions. I just like helping people, and it's good to see people want help too, because who doesn't want to gain elo, right? But anyway, I'm gonna take this off pause because who wants to see Diana stand still? But anyway, Diana, she's been very prevalent in the mid lane, but her original use, people love to pick her up in the jungle, and she's still very strong in that regard. A big hit to a potential Jungle Diana was way back when they removed the ability for red buff to proc off of spells, and if that still was the case, I'm sure Diana would have been one of the top junglers to this day. But as we have seen, that is not the case anymore. We're going to see her start off with Wolves. Very, very good choice, because those early buffs, they spawn fairly early. The early camps spawn a little bit earlier than the buffs. My English is a little off today, even though it's my main language. As you can see, take the wolves very quickly. Getting a little bit of a leash, it's generally a good thing to ask your team for a smiteless leash, though. Because smiteless, you can save that smite, and then you can skip wraiths altogether and just go right for your red buff, and just hit level 3 immediately, and then have a much healthier and quicker jungle. Because red buff speeds up your jungle immensely. Even though blue buff keeps your mana fairly high, get a good amount of regen, lowers your cooldowns, red buff allows you to quickly blow through that jungle. And so now we are at level 2, and I think we tried to do a little bit of face check to see if red buff was being taken. Spotted that it was alright. So went back to wolves, looking like he went back to do the wolves so he can get that smite close to off cooldown. So you can see it's actually off cooldown now, and he's looking to gank mid lane at this point in time. So slow it down just a little bit. And let's see what happens with this Kha'Zix. My guess is he'll probably just leap away. It's really tough to gank as a Diana early on without red buff, because even though, like I was talking about, the red buff used to apply on spellcast, it doesn't anymore, so you're not going to be able to land that slow. It's just going to be really difficult to try to lock someone down early on. So you really need that red buff to try to keep them slowed. And it's great to show your face, like in mid lane. You showed your face because Kha'Zix is being super aggressive, pushing up, and he doesn't have any wards. I think that you noticed going boots, it looks like he had 2 health potions as well. You know that he doesn't have any wards, so showing your face is going to make him play a little bit more passive, have him sit on his back foot, and realize, oh, wow, if I push up, she's going to come out and try to gank me, so I got to be a little bit more careful. So it's going to limit his aggression a little bit more. So that's actually a really, really good idea on your part. Get in their heads. It's not necessarily getting the kills, forcing summoners, but if you can get in their heads and they think, oh, wow, if I don't ward, if I'm not careful, she's going to pop out at any second, that's a very, very good thing to do. So speeding up once more, because watching farming pretty pointless, and we are seeing pings, but take a look right here. I know that this isn't warded. He definitely wasn't spotted. We can see Diana running up here, looking like she's trying to gun for a gank down in this area, but we did just see who's the jungle on the enemy team. Jax. So Jax is just sitting right in here. I can actually reveal him right there, and I can pick out who the champion is. Jax is actually ready and waiting. For some reason, it doesn't have his blue buff. Actually, neither of them have their blue buff. I've been fast forwarding. That's why. Enough time went by that both the blue buffs have worn off. You can see Jax ready and waiting, pick up this Tryndamere, and because Diana's running by here, Tryndamere doesn't think that Jax can be sitting in that bush, and who would expect that? Without any wards, Diana could have seen that coming. Tryndamere most likely isn't going to see that coming, but he'll probably get away safely with his E to dash away, but they are running down here. It looks like they did not spot Diana running by, so this should be a pretty easy gank, because let's see, we've got a Leona Vayne. If Leona initiates, this should be a very, very easy pickup, or at least a summoner spell or two. Good, pulling everyone in, that's very nice, but so let's see, we managed to get a flash out of Graves and a flash out of Diana. So flash on yourself, not the best thing. If you realize you're not going to pick up a kill, don't go for the flash. They weren't. Oh wow, Warwick getting killed first blood. Not important. Not important for this game. Stop it. Stop trying to cast. Yeah, so they were really close to this tower right here, as everyone saw. There's no point to try to flash when they're still very high on health, because even if Leona did manage to land her Zenith Blade, she wasn't going to lock him down long enough for Vayne to pick up that kill, or yourself. And it's a good thing to think, all right, we got them. I can get this if I flash. I can get the pull. But you guys just don't have enough damage at this point in time to really secure those kills. So you want to try to avoid using your summoner spells. Just run down, since you are still level 4. Just run down, get them to blow those summoner spells, and then when you return after level 6, especially since you have a Trinity in the mid lane, you're going to have free reign on blue buff. So you'll be able to run around and spam out your spells as much as you want all game. So now we are going to go back, clear out a bit more of the jungle, and pick up a Madred's Razors. Madred's is a good item. You don't necessarily have to pick it on physical damage junglers anymore. You can use it on Mumu, Maokai, essentially anyone you want, Volibear, because it does not have any attack damage. It just provides armor and the magic damage proc. It seems like they may have realized that you're running away, that you went back, so they may have started grouping up for Dragon, so a little bit of a fight coming on here. But they should be alright, even though a bunch of summoner spells were blown. And we are seeing an Amplifying Tome. But for Jungle Diana, I think it may work out better for you if you do pick up the, I'm not quite sure of the item name, but the one that builds from the Hextech Revolver. Because it gives you spell vamp cooldown reduction, reduces the cooldown of your smite, which is huge, 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 huge. Because by having that cooldown up faster than your enemy, you can essentially use it on your camps, then turn and go steal your enemy's camps before he even gets a chance. That's quite a big deal. But anyway, the Madred's Razors is still a very good item because you're able to clear your camps, even though it's a random proc. It could help you burst down creep because you could get 2 to 3 lucky procs in a row, and then in turn speed your jungle up tremendously, and that can also get you a huge lead, because as you see right now, 30 farm to 19 on Jax. Jax did pick up a kill, so he's technically a little bit ahead. You can see he has Razors, Boots, and Ruby Crystal compared to your Razors and Amplifying Tome with no boots. Not quite level 6, but forcing Kha'Zix to use his ult, that's also very good. Forcing long cooldowns or summoners, always a priority as a jungler. If you can pick up a kill, even better. But anyway, in terms of Diana and her kit, as we have a nice little lull in action, let's just go through it real quick. We have the Crescent Strike. It's a skill shot, but it's somewhat easy to land. Once you have like 5 or 10 minutes playing with her, you can get a good judge of the range and how long it takes for that skill to arrive at its target location. It looks like Warwick is actually doing a pretty good job. Does he have his ult? No ult, so not going to be able to secure much of anything without being level 6. We are only halfway. But anyway, going back to the abilities, we do also have, so we have the Crescent Strike, which is very good for poke, but the big thing is it synergizes with your ultimate so well. They were designed to synergize with each other, because if you land a Crescent Strike on your target, once you're post level 6, you throw out your Luna Rush, your ult, it will reset the cooldown of your ult. So every time you manage to land Crescent Strike, Akali's is Crescent Slash, hers is Crescent Strike. Gotta try to remember those. But anyway, Crescent Strike into a Lunar Rush. She's essentially Akali but with mana and a little bit tankier, because she does have the Pale Cascade, which is her shield. You can see Jackson Cloud here, but I don't think this is the best time to be fighting. Tryndamere does have his ultimate up. Is it? It's not. It's an 80 Tryndamere, but he doesn't have any damage. He actually might die to Kha'Zix if he had. Ooh, lucky for Tryndamere, that Kha'Zix was very Anyway, good exchange. Even though Tryndamere did lose his ult, it did force the Ghost from Jax and Ignite from Kha'Zix. So, trade-offs, good trade-offs. Once again, if I can get my mouse to work, going back to Diana's abilities, her W, the Pale Cascade, is a very nice shield. It actually makes her, as a jungler, a very prominent tower diver. Well, she's a prominent tower diver in mid lane as well. She can also be played in top. But as a jungler, it makes it very scary, because especially with Tryndamere in the mid lane, Tryndamere with his, I believe it's Undying Rage, is his ultimate, and then the shield from Diana, they can trade tower aggro fairly easily and secure kills under that tower. But wow, not the best choice for Jax there. He was tanking that red buff, and that's actually what enabled you to pick up that kill. Very nicely done. If you were taking that red buff, more likely than not would have been a kill onto for Jax onto you. So we're gonna go back now, take a look at the golds. We are sitting on oh, there we go, a little over 1,000 gold. So we may be seeing, oh, excuse me, a Cage's Lucky Pick come out for a little bit of gold generation. Gold generation on junglers, if you can itemize it properly, if it works for your champion, is always a very good thing to get. But it looks like we're just going to be going for a Haunting Guise, and then in turn for a Liandry's Torment. And Liandry's, it's a pretty strong item. It gives you health, some AP, magic penetration, and then also has that burn. But you only get a tiny amount of health from that item, considering how much gold you pay for it. You're essentially paying for the magic pen and the health burn. And as a Diana jungle, you want to be kind of beefy because you need to be able to sustain in the middle of those team fights. Because if you jump in without the likes of, let's say, a Zhonya's, a Rylai's, even a Warmog's, Sunfire, any of those items, you're more likely not going to get blown up very quickly unless you have a ton of ability power to get your shield up and make sure you burst down the enemy before they can burst you down. So, Haunting Guise, great item. I don't know if that's what happens in this video, but I wouldn't recommend rushing the using that E. The E didn't get to that yet. I was going to discuss that a little bit, but the Moonfall, it will pull if you get them in proximity. It will pull them in and then slow them, which is huge for Diana. Slows on Diana are tremendous because it makes it that much easier to land the Crescent Strike. But anyway, it looks like we're going for Haunting Guise, and Haunting Guise is the first item. Great. I would not recommend rushing Liandry's because like I was saying, you want to try to build fairly tanky on her with some damage. And a crazy thing about Diana is you don't necessarily have to build all AP. You can go for the likes of an Iceborne Gauntlet because there's a slow on there, doubling your attack damage, also cooldown reduction, armor, and also the Sheen. I mean, what more? That's a huge item on here. What more could you want? I think that actually could be that's probably a very, very strong jungle item on her, and I know it's a very strong item when she's in the top lane. So that's always a very good thing. Cooldown reduction is very, very good on her because even though your ultimate will reset the cooldown as long as you land a Crescent Strike, you want to try to fire out those Crescent Strikes and take a look. She doesn't have the blue buff anymore, so you can take a look. It's essentially a full cooldown, hovering around just about 8 seconds. So let's say we get to 20-30% cooldown reduction. That's gonna bring it down to 4 to 5 seconds, let's say. That can make all the difference in the world in terms of pursuing someone. Every second counts when you're trying to chase someone down, and you see it in game after game after game, time after time, where you go to chase and it's like, all right, I just need to wait 3 more seconds, I'll be able to get them, and then all of a sudden those 3 seconds go by and the whole enemy team is there. So that cooldown reduction can be a very key pivotal thing for her, allow her to get out a bunch more damage. And actually, one thing I forgot to point out was she can also go for attack speed. So she can go for a bruiserish build. Nashor's Tooth, a very nice item on her because of her passive. Her passive does a magic damage cleave every 3rd attack. So that makes her very, very good in teamfights. Unlike Akali, who's essentially there for the single target. She does have the Crescent Slash, if I remembered it correctly. Yes, Crescent Slash on Akali. So that's her only real means of AoE damage, whereas Diana, pretty much all of her abilities besides her ultimate are not single target, are AoE. So that's the difference. Akali has 1 AoE damage spell, and Diana has 1 single target damage spell. Very, very cool. Nice little transition of champion abilities. So anyway, I'm gonna fast forward this a little bit more. We did kind of bully Jax out of the way, I think. I think that's what just happened. I'm gonna go back, maybe try to gank bot, but we are fairly low. We have our blue buff once again. Yes, we are gonna wind up going back. 1,300 gold once more. So their Haunting Guise is going to be completed. Wards and health potions. And when you're jungling, picking up wards is a very big thing. At least 1 ward. If I'm starting to get a little bit ahead of my jungler, I like to pick up 2 to 3 wards to make sure you know where he is at any point in the game. Well, you stop it, dog. Don't you do this to me now. Because the biggest thing you can do against a jungler that you know you're beating is to counter gank. So that was a very good gank, but not much to note. It was just an effective gank, very standard gank right there. But the big thing I'm talking about now is counter ganking. You can see Jax right here. For some reason, he's trying to jump in and try to save this tower, but he came in at a terrible angle, and that actually might be a huge, huge throw for his team. Not in favor of his team, but in favor of your team. A huge throw against his own team. So now, Sin is focusing on Leona, while Vayne and Diana are able to free cast on him. I'm not quite sure what he's thinking, but once again, Vayne should be able to get this kill. Yep, that true damage can be just enough. But going back to the topic of counter ganking, what just happened? Yeah, so you pick up a couple wards, and as things go about, you want to try to ward a little bit deeper into his jungle if you're ahead. So maybe this bush near Wraiths, coming up here, this brush at blue, because this is actually a very active area, either here or also here, because you can see he's trying to hook around, try to gank mid lane, because the top side for blue team, it's very, very easy for a jungler to walk through here and gank, walk through here, or in Jax's case, he can walk through here, ward jump here. So warding here, you can easily tell if he's going to be going straight out or hook around, and in turn you can counter gank. If he walks out through here, you can also try to catch him if he potentially could be going through your wraiths. So good to always have that vision, and if you can counter gank an enemy jungler every time, they're generally not going to expect it, and if you're ahead of him, you'll probably be doing more damage, and they're going to, and since they're not going to expect you, they're going to be blowing lots of their big cooldowns on that one target, not expecting you there, and in turn could easily turn that 1v2 into a 2v2 into 2 kills for your team. So that's the big thing about counter ganking, and counter ganking, that's kind of how junglers manage to carry their way up through elo. But between knowing buff timers, knowing the times to gank, where that's kind of a touchy subject, as we see here, trying to pick people up in the jungle, but a Blitzcrank, not exactly the best pickup considering Graves just picked up that kill on you and got a red buff. So once again, a counter throw to the throw they had in the bottom lane. And so now they're probably going to be able to get Dragon out of this one. I'm sure Kha'Zix will probably tank this one out because Jax is kind of low. Doesn't really have any sort of sustain right now. Anyway, counter ganking. Here's how counter ganking works. I already said you want to ward deep and then kind of get an idea where he's going. And then wherever he's going, you want to try to take the long way around if you can time it right. So for instance, let's say Jax is trying to counter gank up through, or trying to gank Warwick up through the river here. So he'll run up, you'll see him coming. If you know that Singed warded only the river, all you have to do is come back here and just like sit back by the tower. Let's say the tower was up. So when Jax and Singed go initiate, you just wait. You wait for the jump on Warwick. Your Warwick might not be terribly happy, but then when he sees you come in and help clean up, he'll have a smile on his face, trust me. So you'll come in, and then in turn, it's just a standard gank right there. You're just fighting 2-on-2, but more likely than not, they had some of their main cooldowns blown. And that's the strength of counter ganking, because then in turn, it will help your team snowball tremendously, because an early counter gank could be the difference between a win and a loss. Plain and simple. So if you can take out their jungler, and even the laner that they're ganking for, as we pick up a very nice kill onto Graves right here. Kha'Zix might be able to do something. No. Your team is there, ready and waiting. So very nice job for your team, being able to back you up. For some reason, not focusing Kha'Zix. There we go. So anyway, another hodgepodge of a fight. So that was a big mess for the blue team. And pulling you in, you can see, with that shield, it essentially negated a tower shot and a half just about. And in turn, able to get that Vayne a kill once more. You can see, you don't have to be afraid of towers really as Diana. Provided you're around 3/4 health, and you get a couple points in that shield, because as we see here, we maxed out Crescent Strike. Very good, very big, low cooldown damage, relatively speaking. Then the Pale Cascade going to be maxed out, but only maxed out after you max out that Lunar Rush. So in between maxing out your ult now, you're going to be ranking up that Pale Cascade. And then this Moonfall is just a 1-point wonder. Not a big deal in the slightest. It's just there essentially for the pull and the slight slow, keeping your enemies locked down. But something that's really cool about her is that the Moonfall, it could interrupt many different abilities, especially against the likes of, let's say, a Fiddlesticks or anyone that has a semi-long channel, like a Twisted Fate Destiny. So you can charge it on your enemy using your Crescent Strike. Yes, I'm gonna get it one day. I'm gonna have it remembered. Crescent Strike, the Lunar Rush in. I'm gonna keep hovering over the blade just to make sure I get the names right. So use your Q and her ult, charge in, use the Moonfall, which is her E, interrupt that ability, and that's very, very game changing. People don't tend to realize that she can interrupt abilities that way, and it's a very cool concept. So now your team seems to be picking up kills very nicely, even though you're slightly behind in gold. It's essentially from the dragon and the towers, but oh wow, and the farm difference too. But very nice job grouping and fighting. That's kind of where the enemy team is lacking, and that's the strength of Diana also, is when you guys group to team fight, because Diana can be so deceptively tanky with her shield. A couple of tanky items combined with a little bit of AP. As we see here, very nice job to not rush for the Liandry's Torment. Thank you. People, for some reason, once they get Hunting Guys, they think automatically, I gotta get the Liandry's Torment because it's a really cool item. But don't. Do not rush the Liandry's. You can see here we have Need to see large rod, so that's going to boost the shield value on her Pale Cascade, combined with the damage on those two abilities, and then her ultimate, so much more. And then in turn, also look at the damage from her passive as well. So every third attack in a cone, a little area around in front of her, going to be doing at this point in time, what is this? Just about 250 extra magic damage. Wow. Just a full combo from her is going to be very tough. She has a very low cooldown burst combo. So she's a melee LeBlanc in a sense. Anyway, then we also, looks like we're going towards Seeker's Arm Guard, but we also have the Sorcerer's Shoes being completed. So a little bit behind in terms of items if you compare her to playing Diana in mid. But nonetheless, she doesn't need many items to be very strong and threatening. That's what we've been seeing here so far. 6, 1, and 5. So a huge chunk of rolled on her, and you can see the enemy team is really trying to focus her down. They realize that she is such a big threat. Her and Vayne are big threats, and that's actually where you want the damage to go, or the gold to go. Excuse me. Very nicely done. Because even though people like to think, oh, let's get Tryndamere fed. Tryndamere is going to be a hyper carry. Actually, I have Tryndamere and Warwick in the wrong spots. Tryndamere is not going to be terribly scary, essentially ever, unless he was the pre-nerf AP Tryndamere, because AD Tryndamere is very easy to lock down because there's so many champions that have CCs and dashes, and the new items nowadays allow a lot of kiting on melee champions such as Yi and Tryndamere. So he's not the best pick in the world, so much better to have the gold onto Diana and Vayne, so you get a nice spread of magic and physical damage. You know, not forced to. The enemy team doesn't stack one stat, and you guys can still absolutely mow through them. So, gonna go a lot faster through this because it seems like we are in the teamfight phase, and the teamfights are going fairly well. But if I remember correctly, I think I mentioned in the beginning of the video that something may have gone awry, and if that's the case, we got to find that part. We got to find that one point that caused the game to go a little bit crazy and out of control. So another dragon going in favor of the blue team, and this might be the turning point, potentially. I think that this may have been the point where the game went wrong. And it has nothing, I wouldn't say nothing to do with you, but a big part is your team was so spread out. There's no need to be spread out at this stage of the game. There's no need to be solo top farming when the enemy team is grouped and you guys have already been team fighting. Now I'm just patiently watching this because I'm very confused as to what's going on right now. There really should have been no reason for yourself and Tryndamere to fight in that. If I were you, I would have been furiously pinging back. Just let him take the tower. There's no point in letting him get even more kills. So now in turn, Warwick's just gonna run in and do not much of anything. To be honest, I don't like placing blame on teammates normally, but this Warwick is kind of single-handedly throwing this game. But at the same time, if I went back and we went down here, what timer? I can't quite tell the timers on these. Damn it. But it looks like they went down. It looks like the red one, the ward for your team, went down just before, but also might be a positioning thing. But I'm gonna assume that your ward went down first, and then you saw their ward go down. Since you knew that the ward was there was really no reason to poke out with just the two of you in this little spot. I think it was you and Leona. You and Leona right here. Diana and Leona grouping up right here. As they were taking Dragon, there was really no point in that, considering there were two others right here. Or there's actually one other, because Tryndamere, I think, was up here. He was farming Wraiths. So 3 people trying to contest it, or even take a look at 5-man Dragon, nowhere near worth it, because if the enemy team didn't take so much damage, if they decided to not tower dive, they could have just gone right for Baron. They could have easily gone right for Baron, and that would have been very, very troublesome for you guys. But now we can see, look at the gold difference, just because of the one little hiccup in a 30-40 second time span. And I think that may have been where the game went wrong. Nothing to do with ganking. The gank was actually pretty good. The farming was decent. I would have, if you got a Smiteless Leash, probably would have changed the jungle pattern, but very nice job. Always good to learn how to adapt and just baiting your support to getting pulled by Blitzcrank. So, wow, the enemy team just really threw hard. The focus was really off. It was a very good choice to get a grab on you, but having the Zhonya's Hourglass, not as good of a choice, and then you're able to flash away. He did grab Leona, which is kind of funny. Leona had enough sense to not really try to get away. She actually couldn't without any flash. She got off a nice little combo, and then Warwick, because a lot of big abilities were blown, trying to kill off you. And then they also focused on Leona. It allowed Warwick to chain his ultimate, or not chain, but get his ultimate off on, I believe it was Graves. Yeah, Graves, I think, was the first one to die. Yes. So that was a huge turnaround in that fight. So bringing that goal lead a lot closer. So now, where is the next throw going to be? Are we going to see the game spiral out of control anymore? As we see, trying to focus down Singed, and now you don't want to run through his poison. Even though you have the shield and whatnot, you still don't want to take residual damage from that poison. If you can try to run at him from an angle, you very nicely know with that Zhonya's Hourglass. I'm going to back up on that one. I thought we were just going to be killing Singed. We're going to back up actually where we initiated. So you can see, drawing in with that Moonfall, I think that, yep, that Fling is going to cause tower aggro. Very nicely done. And he's slowed. He's going to throw his slow poison, or whatever that is, the sticky goo, in an unoptimal spot, and you can still dash over that anyway, so that's not the biggest deal in the world. But now here's the thing. I know you can't avoid the poison. Actually, the creep allow you to avoid the poison. Very nice. But you decide to pursue constantly through his poison trail. You know he's going to be running this way. With Warwick right there, it's actually... I'm going to back that one up once more. That was actually... That's too good to avoid. Come on. Speed up for me. So we're going to slow it down right here. You can see he's going to fling you. You're going to be right over here. And instead of trying to cut off his running path, so you can make sure you stay in range of him and out of his poison, you opt to try to run straight at him. And then turn into his poison trail. Warwick's right there, so if he tries to double back, Warwick has his ult up. He's going to easily be able to lock him down. And that'll still secure you guys a kill. But instead, you go just behind him and you start retaking that poison trail damage. Not the best choice. If you are pursuing someone, you want to make sure you try to cut off where they're running. You could actually get in front of him. Like right now, if you were in front of Singed, you can stand right here and force him to run around you. And that's going to delay his escape by, let's say, a second, maybe a second and a half. And like you were saying earlier, every second counts. The little things make the biggest differences. Like with that fight down here by Dragon, huge difference. If they could have capitalized on that and taken Baron. Gotta make sure you keep those things in the back of your head when you pursue or you initiate a fight. Now Kha'Zix's coming in. You can see he's trying to full combo you, but very nicely done with the Zhonyas. Then getting back behind that wall so he can't quite chase you down. And he does, I think he does realize that the rest of your team is showing up. Jack's gonna be showing his face, and there we go. So you're gonna be backing out. Vayne's free farming, and now this is going to be a bit of an issue, I think, right here. I do think that they're going to be able to clean up Tryndamere very easily. I'm not really seeing many errors in the way of your play, just in some tiny little mechanics and little tricks. Very nicely done by Leona, though. She's actually, even though she doesn't have flash, she made a couple little errors early on. She's kind of she's making up for her mistakes. So let's see, where are you now? The items we have, Zhonya's the Liandry's tournament being completed. We are in the middle of a team fight, and very nice, very nice. I'm going to go back on that one as well. Go back. Come on, backspace. So we're going to have a nice little team fight here, and a really great synergy, Leona with Diana. Diana can essentially proc every single Leona passive on command, and that's going to be huge in team fights. So there we go. Already getting the reset and pulling on Graves. Look at that burst. One little combo bursting down to half. And then look at that, just the focus on the Graves. That's Diana's absolute strength. She can dive on carries and have no fear because it's really tough to peel a Diana. As long as she's getting the resets on her ultimate, there's not much you can do about it without 100% focusing her down. But she's already so tanky. She's got a decent amount of health, actually quite a bit of armor from the Zhonyas and the Madred's Razors. So it's gonna be really tough to stop that Diana. But now anyway. 2 big kills, Blitzcrank being fairly low. Even though Vayne's dead, you guys could easily have taken Baron as well. But instead pinging on to Dragon. I don't necessarily agree with that one because just by looking at your items alone, you can melt Baron on your own basically because you have Liandry's Torment. That's going to shred a lot of his health. Madred's Razors, nice magic damage on hit, taking out objectives very quickly. You have a Warwick who also deals % magic damage with his Q, % health magic damage. Vayne isn't up, so Blade of the Ruined King is going to play a big role, but Tryndamere, did he die? I don't think he died. He could have also helped shred Baron very quickly. excuse me, with that Infinity Edge, all those crits are going to do quite nice work on him as well. And so this has actually been a very key thing as well. Having every single blue buff has played such a key role because of cooldown reduction and having that just a good mana pool the whole way through while you have that buff is making such a big difference in your damage, escape, and tankiness because you spam the shields, spam your Qs, spam your ults without much of a worry. So once again, your team's starting to get picked off. I really do think that if you try to force your team to group, if you just said stay on me, we're going to win. Because 10, 2, and 10, how can you argue with those numbers? Like, clearly you're on a roll this game. Even if let's say you're bronze elo or you're sub bronze, you're not even rated. If you're on a roll in a game, you're on a roll, and your team should try to feed off of that. Your team shouldn't be trying to run around thinking that they're going to be the hero of the game. Because take a look here, this is them trying to be heroes. The blue team's doing a very nice job in trying to trading tower damage, and in turn they're turning several kills from this. And once again, this is a huge error. Let's see, can we clean up any of these kills? I don't think it's going to happen, especially if that pull with Blitzcrank. Ooh, very rough. But anyway, more likely than not, you're going to be going down. Yep. So we're going to fast forward quite a bit. Inhibitor going to go down. That's a huge loss. That could potentially enable them to take Baron once again. So let's see. Wow, Warwick picking up a double kill somehow in there. Fast forward a little too much, but not a big deal. Looks like we're going to be starting a Baron dance, but with the inhibitor being down, the blue team can hang out all they want. All they're going to do is wait for that lane to push. They can wait for that lane to push all day, and those super minions will in turn start to push your base out, and that will force someone on your team to go back. So what you guys need to really try, what you should have done with two people being down was a spam ping on the Baron and just go rush it. Absolutely go rush it before the super minions become an issue. But now, Vayne getting locked down by Jax, oof. Still not opting the group, and this is just the biggest issue. I think I've been stating it, this is like the 8th time I've said it, your team really just needs to stay grouped. As a ball, you guys are much stronger than an enemy team, but we're not choosing to do so. And in turn, people are just starting to get picked off left and right. And now the gold lead might be too much for you guys to come back from, but we still have a little bit of this game left. You can see the timer. So we're going to fast forward through this as much as we can, but that's rough. Ouch. Did pick up the kill on the Kha'Zix, but getting Graves more and more fed, going to be very difficult to deal with. Looks like we have a blasting wand and a needlessly large rod, so we're going for a death cap because at the moment you're essentially the big magic damage for your team. I kind of do agree with that. I wish Warwick though would be a bit tankier. But now this is what I was talking about, because you guys are out dancing around Baron trying to fight. That bottom lane managed to push and take out a Nexus turret, and because the inhibitor also went down, the creep on the enemy team are going to be a little bit stronger. So all the lanes are going to be pushing and pushing towers. And you can see the middle inhibitor turret is pretty low, and also now this inhibitor turret's gone. So this is going to be a very, very tricky situation for your team. Where's Diana? Still dead. Now we have respawned, getting ever closer to a death cap for that big burst damage. We still have about 500 gold to go. And so now the big thing is going to be, since you realize that they're starting to focus you a little bit more, be a little bit smarter in their team fight, you want to try to hang back a bit because you're not nearly as tanky as you were earlier on in the game. Graves will melt you. You can take a look. Infinity Edge, Bloodthirster, Phantom Dancer, and a Last Whisper. That's a whole crap ton of damage, and you don't have nearly enough health or armor to really face tank that. So you want to try to sit back a little bit, let Leona go in, let Warwick go in, and then once they go in, then it'll be your turn. Then you can go say hi to the enemy team, toss out your spells, and hopefully pick up a couple more kills. Now this is what you don't want to focus Singed. We are seeing a lot of big cooldowns being blown on Singed. Luckily enough, your Warwick is sensible enough to focus on that Graves. Where did we go? Where did Diana go? Well, once again, getting just low, but using the Zhonya's to stay alive in the fight, and that's actually a huge deal. So a kind of a misstep in terms of focusing Singed, but once Warwick initiated onto Graves, I think the fight went a lot differently, just because the sheer fact that you guys realize, oh, he got Graves. Let's kill him. But now, inhibitor going down. Both Nexus turrets are dead. Pick up the ace on a Singed, but these inhibitors are taking quite a bit of damage. This is getting very rough. If I were a betting man, I'd kind of be betting that the enemy team would pick this game up just because so much is exposed. The Nexus is exposed. Even though the inhibitor did just come up, it's going to be not so fun. I don't think we have a ward on Baron either for our team. Yeah, the blue team has it warded, but that's about it. We are seeing pings on it, but there's still big creep. There's still very potent creep pushing up towards your inhibitors, and that's something you don't want. You want to make sure you push these lanes out before you go for Baron. But we did use the Crescent Strike. Yes, I'm on a roll. I'm still getting it. The Crescent Strike too. You can actually check objectives with that. You throw that Crescent Strike over the wall. If it hits Baron, you'll start being attacked by Baron and gain vision. If they're on it and you throw the strike over, it'll hit, but you won't see the Baron. No, I'm not quite sure if the strike gives, when the strike lands, if it gives vision. It actually does give vision, so that was one thing I was unsure about. All I had to do was read the ability. It's something everyone needs to do, even myself. Read the abilities. They give you a lot of information. So yeah, so you can see whatever's going on in there, whether they're in there or not. Always a good way to check brush as well. Now it seems like they're not warding over the wall, but they are trying to bait a grab. Ooh. Grabbing Warwick, that may not have been the best choice for them. We'll see. Hide this. Where's our Diana? I'm going to slow this down right now. It's looking very nice. Once again, focusing Graves, take him out of the picture. But now, look at that. Vayne does have a Guardian Angel, so she'll be alright on her own, but leave Blitzcrank alone. He is useless. He's just there for the pull and the knock-up. That's about it. When you get in the late game, ignore the hell out of Blitzcrank. There's really no point. You want to make sure you focus their damage. Still managing to do that and leaving Singed for last. Getting the ace. Wow, so this could be absolutely game-changing right here. Diana did go down, but this should leave an opportunity for her team to push down the mid lane, take out Inhibitor. More like probably not to, because you can see there are only 2 towers down, and those 2 towers are in the mid lane. You can see I'm hovering over all these other towers in the top and bot lane. So turret Inhibitor now going down, but now the only thing to worry about is we are seeing the blue team ping Baron. Diana will be up in time, so she can possibly poke him away, say, stay away from this Baron. It's mine. If you go for it, I will probably steal it, or at least try to, because she does have Flash, she has Zhonya's, and is she out-leveling Jax? Nope, they are all level 18 at this point in time, so is she going to make it? She's actually not. It's going to be Baron in favor of the blue team. That's going to be very rough. Kha'Zix, Graves, Singed, and Jack with Baron, probably some of the scariest champions in the world to have that buff. So the blue team is now grouping to take inhibitors, and with you so far out of the way, it's great to have blue buff, but blue buff is not worth anywhere near the value of having your inhibitors. So this is going to be a very hectic fight. More likely than not, whoever wins this fight will probably win the game.
Blue team's turret has been destroyed.
So like I was saying earlier, having that inhibitor down is going to increase the strength of creep, so that's why those towers are going down. But oh, a big fight. Warwick able to once more lock down Graves. But where's Diana? Diana taking out Singed. I'm going to rewind after this fight's over because I want to see exactly what Diana did. I thought she was on Graves. Ooh, so Graves didn't go down, and that's a huge deal. Finally going down to Warwick. Warwick is actually fairly beefy now. Very nicely done. So let's pause. We'll go back to that fight. Where is the... Come on. Remember the beginning. That should be the beginning of the fight right about here. So let's see where our Diana does go in this fight. We'll focus in on her a little bit. So, jumping in on Singed once more, need to stop doing that. I know Singed gets very annoying, but ignore him. You really want to ignore him, because take a look. Jack's diving in onto Vayne. Still in there, protect her. Protect her from the dives. Look at that. Kha'Zix, Blitz, Singed, and Jax all on her. That's not something you want to do. So it looks like we do turn and try to protect Vayne. Singed actually kind of saves Vayne from that relentless assault there, flipping her out of the way. Now look at that. She was able to flash out. So now your number one goal right now, Vayne still has her Guardian Angel. You want to try to keep her in the fight as long as possible. So if we can pull that one off, that'll be great. Getting exhausted, but now, let's see. I don't think we use the Zhonya's yet, so that's still an option. Zhonya's is still there to be used. But Kha'Zix is still very healthy. I think Graves was just here. Yeah, Graves is also here. So it's just going to come down to a matter how much damage can you do? And look at that. Look at what we're doing. Look at this. Warwick was just on him. Who's that? Leona and yourself on Blitzcrank. Let's take a look at what Blitzcrank has and why he's so threatening. Oh, he's not threatening. So you want to make sure that, oh look, big threats, big targets, big damage items. You want to get them down. Ignore the hell out of him. He's useless. He's just baiting you, allowing Tryndamere to get picked off. You guys just happen to be lucky enough that Warwick is so tanky he's able to clean up all these kills. So the Warwick threw for you guys in the mid game, but now he's coming up big in the late game. Very nicely done, and turret after turret is now going down for you guys because these creepers are so strong with the inhibitor being dead. Fast forward, fast forward, fast forward. This actually might be game. We're gonna push down here. One Nexus, two Nexus turrets going down. Singe looks like he's gonna chase you out, but wow, look at how the tides have turned. It went from the blue team only having two turrets down the mid lane to now losing 6. Wow, that's a big turn of events. And excuse me, 8. I forgot about these two you guys just took out. Inhibitor going down. And they managed to get Baron. They had a huge gold lead on top of all that. That's all because Warwick was actually able to lock down enough people, surprisingly enough. Then on top of that, very nice protection on Vayne. I would like to see you, even though it's great to, either you have to decide to go crazy on the AD carry, or just protect your AD carry. You either dive the AD carry or protect yours. That's essentially what late game comes down to. And Diana is with Leona a great synergy of protecting AD carry, because with the Moonfall to pull in, Leona has all the stuns. You also have a great amount of damage, and your character model is big enough that they can actually start to focus you instead. Because look at all these kills, 18, 5, and 16. You're still a big threat. Deathcap, Zhonya's, Deathfire Grasp, and the edges. With this Deathfire Grasp being picked up, your number one goal now is to get on that carry. You need to jump on him and make sure he is gone, disappeared. Whether it's Kha'Zix or Graves, doesn't matter, but you can actually take out Kha'Zix, and then that in turn will protect Vayne very well. So we're going to fast forward a little bit more. As we see, we're getting very close to the end of this replay. Very, very close. And I think that with Singed and Kha'Zix not nearby, you guys might actually be able to push in and end this. I'm going to slow down so I can get the camera back in position. Oh, the inhibitor does come back up, so if this inhibitor going down, it's going to come down to whoever initiates better. So Leona landing onto Kha'Zix, very nicely done. Tryndamere with the poultry shout, whatever it's called, slowing them just enough, and then it looks like, did we protect? Yes, we stayed there and protect Vayne. That was huge. And by protecting your carry, it allows you to easily walk through a team fight, because their big burst damage was focusing on your Vayne, and in turn, there wasn't much they can do. With a nice little tight-knit ball on Vayne, she's able to rip through the enemy team. Warwick able to get the ult off onto Graves, so Graves isn't doing much of anything. It's actually very good teamwork, and I think I've talked enough about this game. I'm going to stop talking. I'm going to close this one out. I have a couple more videos to get